This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, Aaron asks us about our justice thresholds.
Woo! I'm gonna fight 'em all. The Seven Nation Army couldn't pod this pod. This is what the Joey sounds like.
Crazy for Aaron's on a podcast. This is what he sounds like.
And this is what an executive producer and video game Jess Sander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess.
You do.
She was just there in your mind. You couldn't not. What happened to her? I haven't heard from Lana in a while.
Oh, she has like a whole hive. I'm not close to that hive, but occasionally I'll be like, oh, that's a thing? I saw someone recently with a t-shirt that had the YouTube page on a t-shirt of Lana Del Rey's video game with like the full like the information below it of like video game recorded, directed by like, and I was like, huh, okay. I mean, I like that song. I remember like when I heard about it, someone was like had written an article about the song and they used the term bee stung lips. And I was like,
yes,
oh, that's a nice phrase. But anyways.
This is a Lana Del Rey little love moment.
I mean, there was a moment there where people had to be obsessed with either Lana Del Rey or Carly Rae Jepsen. And like, in retrospect, like, I understand the appeal of both. I refuse to join you in your mission, but okay, passion is passion. You ain't hurt nobody. Go ahead.
This reminds me of a terrible game that we were just introduced to by Sarah Gilbert, which she invented, and she self-described as potentially a terrible game, wherein you have to get people to guess something by giving a clue of what it is not.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
It's hard.
Oh, God.
It's like, who is not Carly Rae Jepsen?
Oh, God. That's really hard.
Is it?
But you have something specific. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't, because who is not? It's like my dad, like a Midwestern radiologist. I don't know what the bounds of not are.
Her example was they're not Isla Fisher.
Oh, okay. Nope. I would say Zooey Deschanel. I mean, like legit. I would. Amy Adams?
Yeah,
because they look kind of alike.
I didn't get that one.
I would do like.
I got it right away. I was like Amy Adams, and she was like,
Yep.
Brush my shoulders up.
Oh, good for you. You know what? I'm just gonna choose to award you all those points that you've already given yourself. Good for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. What a great.
Is Lana Del Rey of the era the like female Father John Misty? Like, are they the same?
You know, I don't know enough about Father John Misty to be able to answer that question. I'm going to sit on I don't know.
Depressive noir takes on a bygone era of Hollywood?
Yes, in that case. In that case, yes. And I think that she was joined specifically by Fergie on London Bridge. Okay, moving into the podcast. Is that what we need to do?
Thanks for
okay,
Joey's
great.
Obscure Cultural Reference Corner.
Hey, I sit there right with you, bruh. I like it.
And in this corner, Joey's Obscure Cultural References. And
don't
in
bro
this
me
corner,
if you don't know me, Aaron.
Wow.
The actual episode.
That, sir, is next level.
Aaron.
Yes.
What do you got?
So I would love to talk about this topic. And to be honest, and I have to, come clean with all of our wonderful listeners. We've talked about this before, but not on the pod. Me, Joey, and Jess got together one day, and let me spin your yarn real quick. A friend who shall remain nameless right now, but is from Baltimore.
Baltimore.
You have to say it. Baltimore. That's necessary. Like Warder. There's a lot of good Baltimore accent things.
Warder.
I'll send the link.
That's Wooder. Okay.
Or Wooder. You're
Delco.
right. That's Wooder.
Delco.
Okay, into the story. So This is all about another Lego aficionado who
Yes.
has spent thousands, easily $10,000+ on Lego sets
Whoa.
over his lifetime, right? And Lego is an engineering company, right? And in this instance, there was a new set. I believe it was the Pyramids of Giza a couple of years ago, and they've increasingly made these huge sets, like the Hogwarts set, the Imperial Star Destroyer. The Batcave is not huge, but the Pyramids of Giza was a very, very large one, and so they're getting up to like 6,000 piece sets. And so the thing that was really exciting is that, like, yeah, when you invest in Lego, all your pieces will snap back into place with the exact same pieces 50 years later.
And can we just a quick clarification for listeners,
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
What kind of Lego sort of aficionado? Like, is this like collector level that you're talking about? Like, what layer of Lego enthusiast are we?
Important.
Otaku?
He's definitely a hardcore collector. Like, he has his place has more Lego pieces than I've ever seen in a space before. He does not have a like room. He just takes over his whole apartment and bathroom and kitchen. He also uses them as like tools, so he's very handy. So he creates solutions for like, storing cookware and stuff like that by building it out of Lego. He's also a very, very good chef. So in any case, he's got all these pieces and he's been invested for years. And as a result of him being so invested in such a big collector, he has been able to watch when there have been moments of quality control concerns. And increasingly with these big sets that he's been getting, there will be one piece off. And I have to admit, if you don't build Lego stuff and you don't build big Lego pieces, you may not know the frustration of when you've invested $600 into something and you are, let's say, 20 hours into building it, and then you flip a page and you see that, oh no, there's just a piece missing. It's missing. And you are sitting there unable to finish the rest of your $600 piece because you have to call Lego and have them send you like a 1x1 gray flat stud brick, and that's it. Like, this is, and especially just to add this on there too, if you're someone who builds your sets and doesn't break them down, it's the worst in the world. Because yes, you might have a piece here or there floating around, but if you're a purist and you don't want to break down the builds as they were given to you, you're screwed. And this brings me to the concept of the justice threshold. This brings me to this moment
Justice!
in which you run into the fields screaming to the high heavens, "This is unjust!" And apparently you sound like a Muppet. But
yeah.
definitely confused Muppet. But it's these moments where, and maybe this isn't the best example, but it's those moments where there was a contract that was signed, either explicitly or implicitly, and it has been breached. And you demand satisfaction. It is beyond a reasonable doubt. It is, and you are going to pursue this until the cows come home. And that's when you end up on Twitter, and that's when you end up like, no, I need to talk to the manager's manager. No, I will sit here all day long. You don't realize how much time I have to handle this one Lego piece because we're doing this. And so my question to you, with the longest preamble that I've done since 2017, most likely, I don't know if we've been doing the pod that long, is where does your justice threshold rest?
I love that even in times on this show, I think, where we've talked about the most opposite end of justice, right? Of like true righteous causes. We are talking here about sort of just the tipping point of like, this is the smallest scale of injustice that really breaks you. And I think what is kind of wonderful is that actually could be pretty what is it, small, big? What would be the correct way to describe?
A picayune picadillo of justice.
I mean, Joey, you know both my love of language and my desire for precision, and that was it. I am really impressed because it's teeny, it's picayune. It's so like it's things that aren't necessarily they're not important. They're not important. It's
But-
Legos. We're adults playing.
But actually, though,
yeah.
and that's it, right? Like that's the whole
That's
that's the whole thing where it's like, and what am I owed? Or like, no, as Joey would say, a breach of the social contract. It's like
Mhm.
that can mean that you have the smallest, what did you say? Picayune picadillo of
Yeah.
of an
Mhm.
injustice where you're like, oh, not today.
Yes.
Excuse me.
No, sir or madam, I will not. I will not stand for this missing 1 by 1 gray-studded brick being absent from my scaffolding of the Great Pyramid of Giza.
The Pyramid of Giza set's really cool. I gotta give credit.
Wow.
It's really cool.
Also, sidebar on the subject of using Lego for creative purposes. Recently, I saw, we'll add this to the show notes. I don't know if you've seen street artist Jan Vorman, who in her work called Dispatch Work, fixes walls and other types of infrastructure with Lego pieces. Well, there's like a pretty cool map of it that you should check out. It's pretty cool. But anyway, this topic is something near and dear to my heart, Aaron, as I don't know if you know this, but in my family, and particularly because of my father, this is something that is like it has been passed down in addition to leftovers container volumetric estimation and catching reflexes. This like a low justice threshold is maybe like the third thing bequeathed to me by my father. He's got even like Seinfeld level, or maybe it's like Friends level episode names of all of the stories, like the Italian spare tire incident, or like the Treasury Department incident, or like the landscaper incident. You know, there are
Larry
the tales.
David.
It's really like these tales of like, and then just you wait. Look what happened, and this person got what was coming to them, or whatever it was. Of like, no, not today. So I feel like
Cue Arrested Development theme song.
I do wonder though, like what makes a person or a family or what have you more partial to having a low or high justice threshold?
Yeah, I think like what's funny about the justice threshold is that like it's like an equalizer graph, right? Like it's so idiosyncratic in terms of like what types of things will trigger you, and I feel like our like on this call, like our arenas of justice threshold are probably like quite different in the places where the threshold is significantly maybe, I don't know, lower than average, but like where a certain type of breach will cross some kind of line that like would set me off of like justice must be served.
Wait, so what do you think those arenas are?
Mine are much more about like disrespect in individual interpersonal interactions. Like I mean, both of you
yes, I was gonna say
it.
if anyone has ever been in a room with Joey, when it happens, the color red that his face becomes before the words come out is very particular.
A sight to see.
And it goes up his neck, and I'm saying it because I sit there. I've been there in the room with you, like, ooh, I'm gonna get in there, and then I'm like, oh, Joey's got this one. I know he's got this one, so I'll go on at it. Yes.
And but what's funny is like my threshold, I think, is like relatively high in so many other places where it's like I won't let the things get to me, and then all of a sudden in this arena, it's like, oh, like I'm seeing red too quickly, and like a thing that I've worked on over time also, because if I get to that place, like my sister will still like remember things that I said to her when I was like 15, because I apparently have the ability to say like the right wrong thing very shortly in a moment when I'm like that. And so like I've had to work to just like cross your arms, like don't say it because it's gonna cut too deep. Like, you know,
Yeah.
just
I mean,
like,
we will never let Joey live down that time at Company Beach volleyball where his justice threshold was triggered by an opponent who was sort of loudly and rudely sort of celebrating our failures. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if that was the correct trigger, Joey. I've never seen Joey so angry.
It was broadly accurate. I felt like they were picking on people on our team who were not as skilled at volleyball in a way that I thought was mean-spirited. And so I said something, which, you know, whatever. We all have our demons that we're fighting.
And I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think that like all of this to me, and I know the word's really loaded, but like there's a grievance to all of this. There is a policing of grievance where you are like, you know, and I think that there's also this like there are so many things that just like become atmospheric. So many of those like weights and moments and small slices and small cuts that we let go by that are actually filling up a tank. And then at some point, it's like there's somebody who just like, there's somebody that presses the button and it's like, there's a place for that tank to empty? Oh, here we go.
You were the 1000th cut. Yeah, that's the classic kick the dog transference.
Goodness. This is exactly what happened to me recently at New York City's John F. Kennedy Airport Terminal 7 TSA security checkpoint.
Oh, oh God.
I just want you to be precise in understanding which corner of hell I was in.
The pigeons were.
Which is, as you put it, a very specific corner of hell.
It is. It is.
Where I, you know, let's just preface this by acknowledging the fact that the TSA may be one of the more reviled groups and receive more probably unfair rage and like have to deal with all kinds of stuff. And I think that those cuts, I'm certain, add up over time. But I may have been on the receiving end of the 1000th cut or 100th cut or whatever it was several weeks ago, where I was within seconds of missing my flight due to an hour-long extended comedy wherein I was told that I was not allowed to, or that only a specific individual was allowed to be checking bags, but was continuing to like wander off and do other jobs not assigned to him. But then when I was like, hey, could maybe this person help? And someone came over to try to start to help and the manager was like, no, you can't help her. And I was like, why? Why is this happening? And I think the arena here was less about disrespect and it was more just like, I don't know how to describe it. Willful incompetence, not just like people trying to be generous and like stubbornness for the sake of like, no, she's trying to get through security and she's going to have to wait for the process. Except in this particular process, the guy has walked off the job. So what is happening?
That was very much of like king of the castle, like I have such little power, but in this space I have power, moment, and I will flex
you will do
my
this.
Power.
And
well, there is also, I'm not going to defend the TSA. No, I can't defend the TSA, and I think that any and all hysterics are right when it comes to air travel, except all the ones that were on the TV show Airplane, which you can still watch on YouTube, and holy crap, you should watch all those. But I do think that there's this thing too with them where they're dealing with their own grievances of like they've had their hands slapped so many times for doing things that just make sense, but it's not a part of the process. And it's like, the only thing that I'm allowed to do is what I am told the process is. I do not have the scope or scale to understand the efficiencies, sure. So, okay, I will make sure that this lever gets pulled perfectly every time, even though it makes no fucking sense. I'm sorry for the children that are in the back seat. That word just means birds. I just think that ultimately, why did I make it a noun? A plural noun, no less. Like, that's really not helpful at all. But I also think that in addition to these, like, cosmic grievances, there's also the threshold depends on your personal, like, it takes vigilance to keep that threshold where it is. And when we're tired, when we're annoyed, if there have been too many cuts, the threshold moves. Like,
Yes.
when people, so there's this one, it's actually a very common occurrence, and I think that I've talked to plenty of people about this. You're standing in a line, and the line extends to a walkway that has to go in front of, like, the people have to walk through.
Yep.
And then people decide where they're going to, like, walk in front of you.
Yes.
Or, break the line to go through. And, like, me and all my friends, we always talk about it, of, like, who did you decide to go in front of without saying anything, without saying excuse me, without saying pardon me, without saying do you mind if I go through, like, who broke the seal and decided whom without saying that, and what was their calculus? And I'll tell you, that plus people standing too close to me on the wrong day, I can't handle it. Do not stand so fucking close to me. There is so much untapped space in the cosmos. Like we're in a parking lot, and you decide in this empty parking lot,
ever-expanding universe,
it literally has no end, and you choose to park in the space immediately next to me, or to stand immediately behind me. Back up! You're not the only person in the fucking universe. Ooh.
Wow, see, this is even just talking about it, as you can see, is like,
yes,
it really brings this up. What's really interesting, though, about this line example, Aaron, though, is it also starts to crystallize where the justice threshold must be a circumstance where you are pushed to the point of demanding retribution.
Yes.
Right? It's not enough to be annoyed or stewing. Like, that hasn't hit your justice threshold yet. It's the point where you're like, hey, no.
Yes.
No.
And there has to be some just stop right now. But there has to also be some belief that you're on your own. Like, that has to
and
be,
that you're right.
It has to be those three elements.
Conviction, yeah.
Conviction, for lack of there's a better term, but like loneliness or lack of support. You have to feel that you are on your own, and that there is no superhero. There's no one coming to save you in this moment, and you have to do it yourself.
Last resort.
Yes.
There is a funny moment sometimes, to your point, though, where justice is like diffusely recognized by others socially in an interaction, which can satisfy your threshold. Where if you perceive you are wronged in a social context, so here's an example. I was riding my bike to work, and some other person riding their bike like blasted through a red light. And I go through red lights, but I don't go if someone is there. I'm not like trying to I won't go even if I think I'm going to slow a car or someone else down. I think that's like unfair. That's unconscientious. But someone blasted through a light in front of a bus, and like the bus driver was like honked and then just like looked over at me, and I was like shaking my head like, what the fuck are they doing?
Like, that was messed up.
And then the bus driver started like shaking their head yes, of like, there are good cyclists out there. And I was like, there are good bus drivers out there. And we were like, the handshake, like the Arnold like bicep shake or whatever. And in that moment, like someone else recognizing that there was like a minor injustice, I think diffused the situation where umbrage was not needed to be taken.
So, Joey, what you're saying is, in this universe of minor injustices, there are also minor activisms where
Yes.
people can join forces at the most microscopic level and be like, yes, this is a worthy cause.
Yeah.
100. Like, I think that within all of these, there's also just a strain of a lack of acknowledgement. Like, you are being ignored as a human being if you're a cyclist blowing in front of the bus, and the bus driver is having this moment of like, do I not exist in this universe? Am I invisible? And then to look at a cyclist who can say, not only are you not invisible, but like that situation was absurd. It's like, okay, there is a little bit of justice
I
and
thought I was
restoration of like
driving a 12-ton vehicle down the street, like.
Yes. Yeah. And like when people, just to go back to lines for a minute too, I love watching a crowd turn on line cutters. Like if someone cuts a line and the first person says, there's a line all the way back here. And then they like say, I don't know, I don't see that. Oh, no. Then there's going to be like 7 other people who are like, no, get back there. And then when they move back and everybody claps and it's like, yes, get the fuck out, get the back of the line away. It is like, that is, I love those moments of, maybe that's like quasi meso activism moments. That might be bigger than micro. I don't know.
Well, and I think it's also just representative of like that there generally need the full arc of the justice threshold should end with some type of vindication, and that can come from some sort of like the social recognition. It can also come from like all of your hard work or time or probably irresponsible investment.
Getting the brick.
Sort of, right. Like, do you, if you get the brick at the end, like how sweet that must taste. We have to know, did he get the brick?
He did get the brick. They actually ended up sending him multiple, which was very dumb because you only need one. Like literally the way that they program the pieces to fall into the bags. Like it is a precise number of units that you need. But for single pieces, they will give you like duplicates even in your sets. So like I have a giant Ziploc bag of random single stud pieces.
Yeah, that's like IKEA. Just like in case you miss a screw.
Here are 5. Yeah.
The last thing I will say is I've been like over time, I think both with age and work, I've tried to like reduce my umbrage threshold, right? Like or like elevate my like I guess the opposite side of the justice threshold is trying to be like what, don't let yourself get excited over this thing, like don't let this like disrupt my like sanity or mood or whatever. And it came from hearing someone, I'd heard a psychologist talking once on a podcast or something. I can't remember where, but she was talking about how like one of the biggest indicators of long-term relationship or marital happiness is your ability not to take umbrage with your partner, right? Yeah. And sort of like forgiveness and those types of things. And there are many things that should not be forgiven, but like these sort of picayune types of things, like. And so in trying to be like, right, like, if your partner is being themselves and they do like a silly thing, like to let that thing go. And I think I've gotten better at it over time, but there are still like in that sort of equalizer model, there are still like specific things. Like broadly, the average, I've been able to elevate my umbrage threshold, but like there are still the spots like that line is stuck in a location and will not elevate as a broken key or whatever.
I acknowledge and love the journey that you are on. I have high-fived you and I'm going in the different direction where my threshold with the public, it's with the public, not in relationships, but it's like those line cutters, those like things, like I just don't have the patience for it anymore. And it's been weakening over time. And I think, I think that also the where where the or not the instinct, but where like the starting point or what crafts or bounds the starting point, I think dictates as well the like what journey or what direction is beneficial to different people. Because like, yeah, again, this like acknowledgement idea, like the fundamentals of so many of these being about ignoring or dismissing or rendering you invisible and your needs as either invisible, unimportant, or just not worth comment, especially in contrast or conflict with like those who spend so much mental energy trying to make space for others, trying to chivalry, opening the fucking door for people when they're holding groceries, saying thank you when someone holds the door for you. Like, these are not just small suggestions. These are like ways, these are part of the social contract that makes the world a better, like a worthwhile place to live in. And so when it's crossed, I think over time I've just gotten to the point where it's like, you need to know that you've crossed you've broken the social contract. No, this is not okay. You cannot do that.
You hold the door for someone and they don't say anything. You're just like, you're welcome, right?
Yep.
the
yes.
sort of passive aggressive.
And that's the journey that I'm on. Is I've gone less from whispering and more to you're welcome. And then I smile, just grin, fuck them from behind.
Old man Aaron yells.
Hell
at
yeah!
crowd.
Oh yeah, I will be 60 for the rest of my life, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I think that brings us to Jessica's umbrage corner, or justice corner, or threshold corner, or we're on a corner. We're just standing here.
We should all be kinder to each other. The world needs more patience and generosity and consideration. There's no room for hate, except if you cut a line. You're a mean volleyball captain. You're an idiot cyclist. You're that guy at that airport security checkpoint, and then there's nothing that can save you from our rage.
You're that Lego machine.
You're welcome.
Yes. God, that's good. That corner felt great. That was it. That was a weighted blanket of insight that I needed. Thank you, Jess. Thank you.
Hey, Lego counting machine with the faulty laser that didn't detect the additional dropped block.
You're dead.
You're on notice. We see you. Get more conscientious. Or probably nothing, but we'll still know.
Yes.
See, this is sort of Joey's wrap-up corner to Jess's wrap-up corner, which you can add.
It wasn't a wrap-up corner. It was Joey's improv corner.
Just tack it on.
It was improv corner.
Oh.
Yep.
Jess has no patience. Your umbrage with me has
decreased. No, it's decreased over time. I have witnessed both of you find your Stevie Wonder in each other, and it's been amazing.
Aaron's like, I love it. So good.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by, not really, Lego, because it actually is good, and they usually have all the pieces, and I want to counterbalance all the trashing that we did. They're an amazing company. Okay, cool. Bye.
As always, we'd like to thank executive producer and Professor Umbrage, Jess Vander.
We also want to thank sound engineer and probably the 7th member of the Viewcast, Alex Contel.
We'd like to thank programming coordinator and vigilante justice enforcer, Les Jacobs.
And that production crew, those folks, Sarah Gilbert and Nora Mestrich, whose names flow off the tongue like the vitriol that we thrust at a line cutter. Thank you for your help.
And as always, thanks, Ellen. Special thanks.
I really need to thank actually Injustice 2. I know that Mortal Kombat 1 just came out, but I was watching some YouTube videos of like Donatello from the Ninja Turtles fighting Sub-Zero in Injustice 2, and I was like, that happened? Cool. Very cool. So thanks.
I'm here for this.
Yeah. Oh, also, gotta thank the Lego Masters episodes that specifically focus on structural integrity of Technic bricks and traditional bricks, because literally I think one episode they were able to hold at least 600 pounds worth of weight with just like a Lego structure. Amazing. I look at you, engineer Jess. There's more there.
I would like to thank the Veritasium video on the mathematics of knots, which helped validate Jess, your opinion on there is a way to tie your shoes correctly.
No,
I wasn't sure if we were talking about
tire shoes.
I see. I'm sorry. I was confused about speed, rope, or I'm not doing that. I wasn't sure which knot we were doing, so thank you.
Right, it's more of a you just like tie your shoes.
Oh, I see.
Thank you to Jonah Man for teaching me how to tie my shoes.
That's so cool. Oh, thank you for Mrs. Johannigman, who never made fun of me when I couldn't quite get my shoes tied right in first grade, and then I figured it out. It was great.
Small hands. Smells like cabbage.
Yes! Every day is a Mike Myers day, if you want it to be.
Well, we did it. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.